Danta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrind ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Shri Mayapur Dham ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Yamuna Mai ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 5, Text number 8 and 9. Etan me prichata sarvam sarvagya sakaleshvara Vijanihi yathe vedam aham buddhye anushashita edan me prichata sarvam sarvagya sakaleshvara Vijanihi yathe vedam aham buddhye anushashitah etan me prichata sarvam sarvagya sakaleshvara vijanihi yathe vedam aham buddhye anushashitah. Vijani yata devam buddhe anushashita tamne pichata sarvam sarvagya sakaleshvara Vijani yata vedam aham buddhi. Anyone else would like to chant? No? Never mind. Etat, all those, me, unto me, prichataha, inquisitive, sarvam, all that is inquired, sarvagya, one who knows everything, sakala, overall, Ishvara, the controller. Vijanihi, kindly explain. Yatha, as. Eva, they are. Idam, this. Aham, myself. Buddhiye, can understand. Anushashitaha, just learning from you. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation. My dear Father, you know everything, and you are the controller of all. Therefore, may all that I have inquired from you be kindly instructed to me so that I may be able to understand it as your student. Purport. The inquiries made by Narada Muni are very important for everyone concerned, and as such, Narada requested Brahmaji to deem them suitable, so that all others who may come in the line of disciplic succession of the Brahma Sampradaya may also know them properly without any difficulty. So we'll read 9 also, because it's a short purport. So just to do the translation and purport. Lord Brahma said, My dear boy Narada, being merciful to all, including me, you have asked all these questions because I have been inspired to see into the prowess of the Almighty Personality of Godhead. Purport. Brahmaji, being so questioned by Naradaji, congratulated him, for it is usual for the devotees to become very enthusiastic whenever they are questioned concerning the Almighty Personality of Godhead. That is the sign of a pure devotee of the Lord. That is the sign of the pure devotee of the Lord. Such discourses on the transcendental activities of the Lord purify the atmosphere in which such discussions are held. And the devotees thus become enlivened while answering such questions. It is purifying both for the questioners and for one who answers the questions. The pure devotees are not only satisfied by knowing everything about the Lord, but are also eager to broadcast the information to others, for they want to see that the glories of the Lord are known to everyone. Thus the devotees feel satisfied when such an opportunity is offered to him. This is the basic principle of missionary activity. Om Jnanatimmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Yasmai Shri Gurvai Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming for this Sunday morning Bhagavatam class. It's actually very nice to be able to speak on Sundays. Hopefully there are more listeners online. So as we were reading in text number 8 about Brahma Sampradaya, we are part of the disciplic succession, and Narada Muni is being asking these questions for the benefit of everyone. So I thought I'll just do a little recap for the benefit of everyone who has missed the Bhagavatam classes throughout the week. It's been like 7 texts that we have already discussed in the beginning of this chapter. So I'll just do a little quick recap of these 7 verses, so all the people watching online who haven't been able to attend during the part of the week are able to attend today because it's Sunday. So it'll be a good opportunity for them to know what's going on and what's the storyline. So I thought I'll just do a quick introduction, like a quick brief of the whole story so far. So Narada Muni is asking these questions, this chapter, the cause of all causes. Narada Muni is asking questions to Brahmaji about the material cosmic manifestation, how it is created, and it's kind of like makes sense, right? Because if someone's curious, if someone's new, we all have been kids, right? We all know, when we don't know what's going on around us, the first thing we do is we ask our parents, ask our father or our mother, right? What is this all about? What's going on in this world? Why am I here? And what is the purpose of this life? So Narada Muni is also doing the same, even though he's already qualified with all these answers, but he's proving to us that this is the role and responsibility of a person to ask these questions. So he's inquiring Brahmaji, who's Narada Muni's father. He's asking these questions about the cosmic manifestation and try to understand the absolute truth. So it's very beautiful. And the text, I'll just read out the translation of the text number 1. It says, Sri Narada Muni asked Brahmaji, O chief amongst the demigod, O firstborn living entity, I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Please tell me that transcendental knowledge which specifically directs one to the truth of the individual soul and the super soul. So This is the basics of our whole Krishna consciousness movement. If we want to, the first thing we do is offer obeisances, offer our respects to the person we are asking questions. So this is like Vaishnava etiquette. Very important to know that the mercy cannot be received. The answer, like even if a person tells you an answer, you won't be able to understand until we have that surrendered attitude towards that person, right? So this is what we know. This is what we have learned in our Prabhupada movement. So this is the basics of our philosophy, is to give respects to the person who's giving us, who's instructing us. So the respect for the spiritual master is very necessary. So as we all know in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also explains, right, that the supreme science can only be received through the chain of disciplic succession, right? Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo vidu. The supreme science is received by the chain of disciplic succession, and the great saintly kings understood in that way. So, as we all know, Maharaj Parikshit is also understanding the supreme science through the chain of disciplic succession. So, this automatically becomes our responsibility to look for the parampara, to be part of that parampara, because we should not take instructions, we should not try to inquire from people who are not part of this parampara, because they will not have the essence, They would not have the right knowledge about what's going on, They will have their own mental concoctions, because we are like, as we all know, like we do disciplic succession course, we do disciples course, and it's already told us that, we are just like postmen, right? Has anyone ever seen a postman before? Yeah? What does a postman do, The duty of a postman is to bring the message to the person, rather than without messing around with that message, without playing with that message, He doesn't open the letter, or he doesn't play around with the message. Back in the days, they didn't have letters, they would send people, They, like in these times, they didn't they used to send letters also, but they sent people. Their main scholarly people as dutas, as like the representation of the kings. They would send that people. And they would not change the message. They would say word to word what's being told to them. Because back at the day, they have good memories, right? We don't, this is Kali Yuga, Like someone was giving example of Chinese whisper, during the week. And they were saying like how you tell someone one message and that message has been broken and it's totally different story now when it comes back to you. So this is not part of the disciplic succession, In disciplic succession, a postman just delivers the message given by the acharyas. What has been told, we just use our own realizations to explain that message better. But we still follow the disciplic succession. We don't change the essence of the message. So we will find that out also in the future text. Because after the 9 and 10 and 11, Brahmaji will tell Narada that it's not me, it's the Supreme Lord. Like straight up, I'm not doing anything, I'm not the controller, I'm not the one doing anything like this. This information is coming from the Supreme Lord Krishna. So like straight up message, like without, he could say, maybe I am doing these things, like Brahma could say that, he has the opportunity, Narada is fully surrendered, but, he's not doing it because he doesn't change the message. And that's what Prabhupada is also trying to say, we should follow the parampara system. Actually, there's a very beautiful point that kind of struck me when I was reading this purport by Prabhupada. It says that knowledge received by submissive inquiries and service is more effective than knowledge received in exchange of money. That's kind of like a very deep and a very powerful message that Prabhupada is writing here. Like we can actually see in Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says that if you want to receive some science, some knowledge, you have to render service. You have to be submissive and you have to inquire submissively. Right? We all know that verse in the 4th chapter. Is the 4th chapter? Transcendental knowledge, that one? Yeah. Patadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Upadeshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshina. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, and offer service to them. Those who have seen the truth can impart knowledge unto you, right? So people who have seen the truth will only impart knowledge unto you unless you surrender to them, unless you try to inquire in a submissive attitude, Like imagine, someone comes to you and start asking all these questions, and he's like totally arrogant about it, He's not asking these questions to learn, he's asking these questions to fight or argue or to just have a debate, Would you tell that person anything that you know? Probably not, because this is what, if you're a book distributor, you know that. You don't want to waste your time with people who are not very inquisitive, who are not very like into this to learn. They're only there to fight. So you will not waste your time with people like that. So we should learn that this is the essence of bhakti yoga. Inquire submissively. So we should always have a submissive attitude towards our teachers. Otherwise, because Bhagavad Gita, if you read Bhagavatam, Bhagavatam is full of far out stuff. Like you can like read from the first canto to the end canto, you'll be just like blown away with things that is in there. 80% of stuff is not even conceivable for our own minds to even accept in the first go, right? I remember when I started reading Bhagavatam, I was like, what's going on? Like mountains are flying and all these things going on. How is that like? Why am I reading this? Why am I trying to learn something from this? It doesn't like really, I cannot conceive. So that's why we read Bhagavatam, to know there's so much stuff in the world that we cannot conceive. What to imagine of trying to control our own lives. So this is something very beautiful. To understand the Bhagavatam is the essence of Bhagavatam, which is everything is done for the devotees and the Supreme Lord Krishna. So we should try and remember that point. So, and there's another point where Prabhupada mentions that received in exchange of money. Now, I was meditating upon that. Why is Prabhupada writing that point? And one of the reasons could be that Prabhupada is trying to refer to the modern day education also, Because I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I was horrible in mathematics, right? I just didn't want to deal with mathematics at all, right? Anyone ever here hated mathematics as growing up, or is it just me? Yeah, Anantapur, very nice. Yeah, mathematics is a bit harder topic. Some things are just like, why am I doing this? Pythagoras theorem, algebra. So what's the use of all this? Well, what I'm going to do when I learn all this. So I was very bad at maths, and I would get very bad grades. And then my mother decided to get me some private tuitions. Like these private tutors come in to teach you, to try to guide you, help you out, with your academics and stuff. So my mother tried to hire this tutor, and he was only coming for money. He didn't care if I'm learning or not. That guy he just came for money. He doesn't care if he just came, did a thing. I didn't care because I have no interest in that subject. So I just well, mom's told, so you got to do it, So even though I'm getting bad grades still after 400 rupees an hour for that education, it's still, waste of time. So he doesn't care. He just coming there to make hourly money. Sometimes he'll say he hasn't learned in 1 hour, so he needs to give another few hours. So let's just make more money. So this is what's going on in our current society. And most of us here, most of devotees assembled there are probably engineers, right? So you guys know there's so much energy and so much efforts we have spent in to learn this knowledge. And what's the point of this knowledge if we don't know the real purpose of life? If we don't know the real identity, who we are, where we come from? These are the most important questions. And in the modern education system, there is no information about it, Like you can go from a nursery class, like a class 1 to class 12 or, university level. There is no information about the soul. Prabhupada mentions that in the universities, where he'll go look these two schools, and Prabhupada will tell them that what do you know about the soul, like there's no information about soul. This is Raja Vidya, this is the supreme science, but it's not getting taught in college. So, this is something what's going on. So that's why Prabhupada is saying that this supreme science can only be understood and received through the chain of disciplic succession and through a surrendered attitude. You cannot learn anything by the exchange of money, Some people try to do that, That's only for greed, Like Prabhupada gives example of these so-called gurus, who try to impart knowledge only by certain amount of money, give me $1 million. Like someone was giving example yesterday, I think it was about the deities wearing these jeans and stuff, for a little money. That's not someone would do, That's not a bona fide guru or a bona fide disciplic succession would not do such a thing, Even if you give them $1 billion, wouldn't do such a thing because that's changing the philosophy, that's changing the Shastra. And a good devotee or a good guru or a teacher would just follow what's in there in the books, and just go as per the law. So this is something we should focus on. I thought that was an interesting point, so I kind of shared that one. And we go to text 2. So in text 2, It says, "My dear Father, please describe factually the symptoms of this manifest world. What is its background? How is it created? How is it conserved? And under whose control is all this being done?" So these are questions that Narada Muni is asking about the material manifestation. And Prabhupada comments that these are the real questions. These are the questions, right? These are what we call questions, The question that we asked in our current modern society: what's she up to, what he's up to, what's this guy doing, what's he doing, Did he get a new job or did she get a new job? These are not really questions that are helping us advance materially or financially or spiritually, So these are the real questions that Narada Muni is asking, If you see something around you, you got to be inquisitive, Like, I was reading this analysis, or more like a research about, because I grew up in 90s, right? There's 90s kids here? 90s, yeah. So we grew up in 90s, right? So we were like playing out, trying to figure out what that is, We were very inquisitive, well, kind of inquisitive. So, but kids in today's time are, like the 3 or 4-year-old kid knows how to operate a telephone or like a Android system, or, like constantly playing video games. Like I remember, when I was in India, I was seeing my cousin who was like, 4 years old or something, and he's like playing video games all day on his cell phone, You ask him questions about life, I don't even care, that's what he says. I don't even want to know. I just want to play my video game and leave me alone, So this is the current attitude that of the modern society has produced, This is the so-called advancement we are in, which is not very good, Like this is just making dummies, You don't want to grow up and become a dummy. You want to become an inquisitive person so you can learn and inquire. And our modern day education also breaks us, You just have to learn these things that may not be very effective. Actually, the research says majority of the people who graduate from one degree or one field, they never get job in those field of activity. So you spend 4 or 5 years working very hard and paying financially, and you work at McDonald's or something, it's like, just doesn't make sense, Like I had a friend in USA who spent 5 years, he had like $250,000, something like that, very like over 100K, he had student debt. And in law, he was a law student, and then he was working in McDonald's for the next 6 years, trying to pay that debt off. Like, why don't you find a job in law? Because that's what he studied. He's like, nothing's available, It's hard to get a job in there now. So he's still working in McDonald's. So I'm like, what's the point, It's being so much endeavor. So these are the real questions that we should ask, These are greater. A smart person, an intelligent person would know, If, like, for example, when we go out on books, we try to show something to people, these spiritual wisdom, these spiritual knowledge, Most of them don't care. They like, I'm not very inquisitive. I'm not very spiritually inclined, We tell them this is something that can help you, can make your life better, can give you some real knowledge, but just don't want to deal with that, So people are like that in today's time. This is Kali Yuga. We are lazy, We are very lazy about spiritual realization. So, but it is our duty to still go out there and, do our best job, because we can only please Krishna and Guru. Well, we can only please Krishna by pleasing Guru. So our Guru Prabhupada has instructed us to preach. And this is a preaching movement, as I often say. So we should try and remember to take as much opportunity to preach, even though the times may not be favorable, like current coronavirus times. But still, things are getting better. So hopefully we'll be back in track, back doing our normal routine. And Prabhupada also uses an analogy of atheistic scientist and the by chance theory. It's a theory. We should remember that. No one as kid tried to make me focus on the theory part. They just make me focus on by chance or, Big Bang theory. It's a theory. At the end it says theory. Why does it say theory? Because you cannot prove it. No one can prove this. That's why it's a theory. So you cannot rely, you cannot understand, or you cannot believe theories, Theories come and go, We have so many theories, like in the world. One scientist made this theory, the other one come and threw his theory out of the box, and then his theory is now applicable, and the other one comes and then he disproved that theory. That's all that's going on in the society, Like sometimes I remember there were 9 planets, there was Pluto, then someone said there was no Pluto anymore, they took the Pluto out, then the new one came, it's Pluto's back. So what's going on? That's what's going on, there's no like firm, you cannot confirm it. But this spiritual science, you can actually, it's very practical. You can study, you can apply, and then you can see the result. We don't have like stupid people who have been chanting Hare Krishna mantra for like 45 years, or over 60 years now. This is going on. They're not like fools, who just constantly chanting something that's not helping them, Why would a person chant a mantra constantly throughout the day if that's not helping that person, He must be feeling something. He must be seeing the result. That's why he is following that process. It's a very interesting point that I was thinking about is like when in the beginning, when we are new, we may not necessarily have like big time realizations, We may not value the importance of the Maha Mantra, because it's so powerful, but we may not feel anything, we may not appreciate anything. But based on my personal experience, I can tell this mantra is very potent when I look up to my seniors, Because looking by the senior people who've been doing it constantly for a longer time, we can see the result. We can see, okay, this is very true. This can actually work, You cannot know this unless you have seen someone who's qualified and who has experienced what we can experience if we follow the same process, So this is what we should look up to, We should look up to the seniors for inspiration. We should look up to seniors for motivation, because that will help us grow in our spiritual process. So I thought that was an interesting point also. We'll go to text number 3. Just read that out. Just a second. So the text number 3 says, "My dear Father, all this is known to you scientifically because whatever we created in the past, whatever will be created in the future, or whatever is being created at present, as well as everything within the universe is within your grip, just like a walnut," right? So over here, it's a pretty interesting point because now Narada is because Narada knows that he's seen Brahma perform austerities. So Narada is kind of but he's still speculating a little. He's because Narada can only see Brahmaji, right there, because there's no one else. Narada is the first, he's the son of Brahma, and there's only Brahma there. So Narada is looking at Brahma, and he's saying, you are everything, You're the one who's creating this material world. You're doing this, you're doing that. You're the truth, But he still kind of see that he's performing austerities. So he's not very sure, Why is he performing austerities? Like, for example, we can use an example of a company, right? In a company, there is a manager, right? If you speak to a manager, a good manager is a person who knows whatever's going on in the company, right? If Ishwar Prabhu doesn't know what's going around in the temple, he's not the good manager, right? So he needs to know everything what's going on in the temple room or what's going in the temple, So that's the sign of a good manager. He's well aware of the situation. So Narada is looking at Brahmaji and he's wondering, he's thinking that he can only see himself. So he's telling him that you're the supreme. You're the supreme truth. I can see you. You're the creator of this material world, which is true. He is the creator of the material world. But there is something greater than that. Then he will ask in the next text, where he says that, "My dear Father, what is the source of your knowledge? Under whose protection are you standing? And under whom are you working? What is your real position? Do you alone create all entities with material elements by your personal energy?" So, many times in a company, if you meet a person who runs a company or something, you can ask him the first thing, in the question, if you're speaking to that person, you'll ask him, so are you the main person, or do you have someone in charge, someone superior to you? Even a company owner, like a CEO of a company, has shareholders and stuff, board members and stuff. So this is all like a group thing. So, but that's why Narada Muni is a bit inquisitive, because he has seen Brahmaji perform austerities in tapasya. So he's kind of wondering, who are you trying to please, Because I'm thinking that I can only see you, so I'm thinking you're the only one here. But he kind of still inquisitive, why is he performing these austerities? So, so he cannot see anyone else. And there's another important, interesting point that Prabhupada explains, that Yeah, Prabhupada gives an analogy of a manufacturer, like a manufacturer. Shri Shri Radha Gopinath, Bhagwan Ki Jai. So, Prabhupada gives the example of a manufacturer, like how a manufacturer knows what's the supplies, the raw materials, what kind of raw materials does he need, how much does it cost, where to get it from, who are the suppliers. So all these questions are known to a person in charge, a person responsible for that particular thing. So that's why Narada Muni thinks that Brahmaji is the person, he's the man, right? So we got to ask him all these right questions to get the right answers. Then we jump to text number, which one did we just do? We're at 6, we'll go 6. So whatever we can understand by the nomenclature, characteristics and features of a particular thing, superior, inferior, or equal, eternal or temporary, it is not created from any source other than that of your lordship, thou so great. So this is what Narada Muni is saying. He thinks that this is what it is. I am seeing Lord Brahma, and I have to learn everything I can from Brahma, because Brahma is there and he is the creator of the material world, so I can learn more about this material world, so we can also benefit at the end. And then there's text number 7. Yet we are moved to wonder about the existence of someone more powerful than you when we think of your great austerities and perfect discipline, although your good self is so powerful in the matter of creation. So, as I said already, that Narada Muni can see him performing austerities, and he's kind of wondering, why would a person who's created everything would be performing austerities, right? Like, what is he meditating upon? Like, who is he thinking about? Is there someone greater than him? These are like good things, People are inquisitive. It's hard for us to understand that, because we may not ask the same thing. If someone tells us, I am doing this, like, okay, your thing, you do it, that's fine. We don't want to dig in a little deeper about that, but Brahmaji is telling everything in the next few texts also. So we read text number 8 today, and we'll just go briefly on text number 9, because it's got a bigger purport. So Brahmaji said, my dear boy Narada, being merciful to all, including me, you have asked all these questions because I have been inspired to see into the prowess of Almighty Personality of Godhead. So in the purport, Prabhupada gives this beautiful point of devotees are always enthusiastic about learning and spreading Krishna consciousness. So we can see that in the whole Bhagavatam, throughout the Bhagavatam. Devotees have been amazingly enthusiastic, start from Maharaj Parikshit, or start from the stages of Nemasharanya. Like, for example, sages of Nemasharanya, they wanted to perform a yajna. They tried to perform a yajna, but what happened was they were covered in smoke. But then a smart person knows if he's tried something and it's not working pretty good, then I need to find a way out. I need to find something else to get to the goal. Like, anyone seen ants before? Ants, when you see ants, if they're going to something sweet, or the brahmacharis sometimes going to the sweets, just a joke. So, sometimes the ants, when they're going to get to their goal and you put something in the way, they will split, they will, go around the way to still reach to the goal. They will try until they reach the goal. So a smart person is like that, he knows what's the goal and how to get to the goal. If there is some stoppage in the way, he will change it a little and try something else and see if that works. So sages of Nemasharanya then started inquiring, listening Krishna Katha from Shuta Goswami. And then he was so happy to instruct and speak on these supreme transcendental topics, about Krishna. So we should remember that everyone, in the beginning, then we have the stories of, so many other stories of Maharaj Parikshit, after being cursed by a Brahmin boy, and just wondering what's the ultimate goal of life now. What should I do? What's the responsibility of a dying person? And then he approaches his spiritual master, Shukadev Goswami, who is also very happy to pass this knowledge unto others, And he's also, both of them are fasting for 7 days, not eating, not thinking about anything else other than the Krishna Katha. And they're discussing these beautiful pastimes and stories of Krishna, Why are they doing that? A person may just wonder, well, they're not even eating and sleeping and drinking, What's the point of that? Because if you consider that there's very limited time in this world, Time is very short. We're not promised tomorrow, we can't even see what's going on in the future or in the past, So time is very short, whatever we have used, whatever we can use, we should use it for Krishna consciousness, to understand, advance ourselves in Krishna Katha, and to pass on this Krishna Katha to everyone else that we know. That is the whole point that is being explained in the purport. And then there's another stories of Vidura. Vidura, after leaving his palace, he was a great advisor. After leaving that role, he went in the search to get the transcendental knowledge. So he approached Uddhava, and if we read in the third canto, which we will be reading in the third canto, is the signs and the symptoms that Uddhava showed, when Vidura approached and asked these amazing questions, This says that the first remembrance of Krishna, that's the chapter name, and the first text of that, Uddhava says that Uddhava was in great anxiety, because all these memories of Lord Krishna was just like coming in, He just could not handle, because Vidura constantly asked question after question, and Uddhava was like, this is amazing, He cannot stop thinking about Krishna, and that was giving him so much anxiety, So this is like a sign of a great person, a scholarly person. He's always in anxiety about spreading Krishna consciousness and thinking of Krishna, So we should remember that. Even from examples of Prabhupada, Prabhupada, whenever he would preach straight about Krishna, not like he would not do any prajalpa talks with his disciples. The only thing he would ask his disciples is so that they can advance in Krishna consciousness, and whatever can help them to take up the preaching process. So Prabhupada is mentioning in this purport that, does the devotee feel satisfied when such an opportunity is offered to him? So if we ever get an opportunity to preach Krishna consciousness, we should be very happy to take it. I was speaking to Shamali Mataji the other day, and she was saying, I would like to go on books one day, but it's very scary. It's just very scary. The thought of it is very scary, And I used to think the same way when I was a new devotee, I was like, trying to be a new devotee. So Krishna, it can be very scary, very challenging service if you think about it. But there are people doing it. If you ever see a book distributor, there's two things you will notice immediately, that this guy is a book distributor. He's always relaxed, He's like, nothing can give him more problem, because he has seen the worst things out there, So this he cannot be disturbed too much, Like you can't see anything that will disturb him that much, because he's already trained up, with a little experience of book distribution. That there's all sorts of people out there, that say different and crazy stuff. So we're already trained. So you can see that in a book distributor, that he will be a very calm, and he knows how to handle the situation. That's what I'm trying to say. He knows how to, talk to people. So as I was listening to Navina Narada Prabhu, who's a great book distributor, and he was saying that 50% of the job is done just by deciding to go on books. If you make that decision, I'm going to go on books tomorrow, that's your 50% job done. The other 50%, you just have to stand there, try to stop people. That's not even the hardest part. The hardest part is just to make that decision, overcome that fear, that I would like to go on books. So I was telling Shamli Mata that you should come out someday. It's a great service, it's like most pleasing to Prabhupada, and we all should take a little time out to participate in the congregation. We have so many young devotees who are very enthusiastic. They're good personalities, We should take this opportunity to use whatever we have in this beautiful service of book distribution, Take some time out, give it a try. We have some great book distributors here, Nrsimha Prabhu, Bhava Bhushan Prabhu, with so much experience and knowledge, They can impart that knowledge to others if they have the opportunity to. So please take guidance and take devotee Sangha association. Because without devotee association, things will become difficult to advance in Krishna consciousness, Forget about doing service. We can't even do sadhana properly if we don't have the right devotee association, right? Has anyone ever felt like that before? If you're not around devotees, things become very difficult, Like sometimes when I go back to see my family and I'm not around devotees, I can feel that. I can feel that different consciousness around me, that's like coming in between me and my sadhana. Sometimes even our disturbances of the mind can be like that, So we should try and remember that these all things, whatever we have, is only for us to improve and advance and receive the ultimate goal. And the ultimate benediction is Krishna consciousness in the association of the devotees. Because we cannot become Krishna conscious without the devotees. Right? Devotees are the main pillars. What is called, I'm trying to remember a quote that Prabhupada used to say. Oh, never mind. So we should remember that, yeah? So just try to seek as much devotee association as possible and try to become Krishna conscious, because that is going to please Krishna the most. So thank you for your kind attention. We'll stop here now. If there's any questions, comments, or corrections. All right. Gantraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi.